Welcome back to Gift the Garage. I'm Gif. In this video, I'm going to take my old dinosaur C10 and turn it into a burnout machine. So I've already gone ahead and yanked the engine out of here in preparation to get something else in. Now that something else needs to make more power than the little 4.8 that was in here. I don't have big money to build a big power motor. So we're just gonna steal the engine out of this. The old burnout car. Like, this thing's been fun. It was never built as a burnout car. It was just built for, you know, what it is, and I just happened to get stuck doing all kinds of burnout shows with it. And because it's a NASCAR and it's just riveted together sheet metal and it fills with smoke and I can't see, and that's half of an event, is being able to see and maneuver on the pad. So if I want to keep doing burnout stuff, this is going to be the chariot to do it. I mean, I went back and forth on just making this 4.8 scream and just putting a turbo on this 4.8, but the little 4L60 wouldn't be able to hang, and I don't want to spend $500, $600, $800, $1,000 on a 4L80. And I like doing third gear clutch dumps. So the budget has me at just yanking this, throwing it in here. I got a bell housing and some clutch stuff. So we're keeping the Tremec 5-speed in here. So this is out. Gonna start tearing into that. Bunch of stuff to this before I just slam it in the other truck. Well, it's out, and I made a mess. And it's late. I think that's it for one afternoon. So yeah, another day. This place is a mess. All right. So before I just sling this up in here, I gotta change a couple things, because I got a new throwout bearing. Because anyone that's watched my videos long enough driving this car, it never shifted good. I think part of it is because I have like a Muncie style throwout bearing in there from when I had a different transmission on here. and they only have like 680 thousandths throw. And I think the Tremec with the McLeod clutch I'm running needs more than that. So it was never fully disengaging, or if I shimmed it right so it would fully disengage, it wasn't engaging enough because there was a smaller window there. So I got one that's 800 thousandths that's supposed to be for a Tremec setup. It comes with the whole new bearing retainer and everything, and it was the cheapest one for this kind of setup I could find. So let's blow this apart. I'll do some measuring and hopefully shim that and get that on. And then I got a different bell housing instead of this aluminum one, which I've already cracked one. This one hasn't cracked yet, I don't think, but I got a steel bell housing. I only had this held in with 4 volts. It's fine. You don't need, you know, all of them. And they're just cheap little zinc bolts too. I'm gonna take the whole clutch off because says the plate has to go behind the flywheel. Yeah, it's gotten a little warm. Outside smoked. So, this might have been more of an issue than the throw-out bearing. It's only an $800 clutch. Hey, McLeod, what's up? Help me out. Yeah, right. When you put these together, you're supposed to get the flywheel and the bell housing on and spin it and maybe get offset dowels to, you know, make sure everything's centered up. Yeah, we're not gonna do that. Here's my hammer. So I had to find some Loctite, and usually I'm just run the bolts down with an impact kind of guy, but these guys at Precise Built Tools sent me a torque wrench. So I guess you're supposed to torque stuff like this. So maybe I should try it out. Good. So if you need a new torque wrench, I'd recommend them. They're affordable. They come in a nice little case. They got all kinds of different versions, 1/2 inch, 3/8, quarter, inch pounds, foot pounds. I'm a fan. Now what am I gonna do about this clutch? Well, the budget allows me to use the old clutch. Alright, so now I was pulling the motor mounts off of this 4.8 because they fit in the truck. And they're kind of junk. So now I gotta wait for new motor mounts. So moving on to something else. I gotta fit a hydraulic clutch in here because stick shift. So luckily this was a manual truck and it has a clutch pedal. So we're just gonna look at this, right? That's 3 7/8 to 2 1/2. So that means this plunger moves 1 3/8 inches. So if I want to start my pedal lined up with the brake, makes sense. We already got a couple holes in it. So what are the odds? Where are we at? About 8 1/2 to the hole. So I want to go 7 1/8. Is 1 3/8 inches. So that's about perfect. So I just got to drill a hole here. Hopefully the booster's not in the way out there. Get the rod out, make something, mount it right to that hole. Easy. Very precise measurements, and I should probably take the booster off and drill this straight, but and there's a little brace thing there that I gotta bolt through. Perfect. And so I didn't exactly have the right size hole saw for this. So I just cut a chunk of radiator hose and make a little collar just to fill up some of that space. Mark some holes and drill those. Got some bolts in that. I know, you're all so surprised I didn't just throw some self-tappers into the firewall. Kind of surprised myself. Now, should have a straight shot to make a rod from the existing threaded push rod to this hole. So all I did was take a junky piece of square stock and booger weld a nut on there. I know it's kind of tough to see in here. My little cell phone flashlight's not cutting it. Jam nut goes on. Then this should thread on. I had the right pitch nut. Don't tell me it's the wrong nut. I checked it. Might just be some junk in it. And I was thinking about putting an eyelet on the end of this, but I might just drill a hole right through this bar and call it good. And just like that, I got a clutch pedal. Next. So while there's still no motor in here, I know I need clearance on this motor mount for that turbo log. Well, that ain't gonna work. Need some clearance. So I cut a little symmetrical piece of cardboard and laid it over this corner and cut it out. And then I'm just gonna flip it. And that should give me what I need. Booger welds. So, I finally got motor mounts. Solid ones. I think we're ready to swing it in. I don't have a hole cut for the shifter, so that's probably gonna be an issue. Huh. Let me rethink that. Back from the motor mount. Call it 44. If I go back from the motor mount, 44. Gonna need a hole. And boom, there's a shifter. I can go around and jack that up. Boom! after about 2 hours of messing around with mounts, that can finally go away. I had to re-drill the motor mounts and then cut a big chunk out of the transmission cross member, but it's in. Now I just gotta do everything else. But that's easy-ish. So I flipped my shifter around, if you can even see, so that my console will fit back down, because it lines up right with the front edge of this hump. I had to re-drill some holes in that shifter. Now I gotta patch that little hole, and this is the most controversial part of the truck on social media when I show videos building this thing. It had this plate on the front. People either loved it or hated it. And like, I'm up in New England, I could care less. But it came with the truck. It's a Southern truck. I feel like we gotta keep it in the truck. Floor patch. So I'm just getting some wiring together, starter wire, stuff like that, and I want to move the battery to the bed. Either way, my main power wire is old from the starter, and it's like clipped to that motor, to that little junction box, and we're gonna redo that. But like, big 0 gauge wire is expensive, and I don't have enough. So you just take some crappy little 6 gauge jumper cables, and we're just gonna use both of them as one feed from the bed to the starter. Jumper cables are cheap.
One eternity later.
I've just been messing around, hooking up all the little things. I think I got all the wiring hooked up. I got the power steering alternator bracket on, the belt on, the lines hooked up, this side header on with a gasket. No crossover tube yet, but this manifold's on with a gasket. Gotta clock this however it's gonna be. Hopefully those survive. I still need an IAT sensor before I can start building the whole front end again. But we're getting close enough that I made the list. And I think I've been adding stuff to the list as quickly as I've been crossing things off of the list. But that's what we're going for. We're trying to party. Before I forget, I got to, you like how this was mounted in here? Just a little PCM shelf, but I gotta switch that over before I forget. Just keep hooking stuff up. I mean, nothing too exciting. Just plugging everything back in. So we're gonna do the wrong thing right now with only half the stuff hooked up. runs. There's a massive oil leak. Oh yeah, I'm an idiot and don't have the oil pressure gauge line on yet. That's fine.
The next day.
Yeah, I made a mess last night. But I got parts in the mail today. So to use my still too short drive shaft, that's an extended yoke, but it's for a 4L60. I had to get one that fits the Tremec. $90 or something like that. Oh, still cheaper than a drive shaft. So I got a new U-joint for that. It's 1330 to the whatever that was. I think it's a S44 whatever. This was a S44 1310. That's 1330. Get that slapped back together. And then just back to hooking up stuff. Tech tip. Wire is expensive. I need an alternator wire and it has to go directly to the battery for the shutoff switch that I'm doing to work. So I want like 8 gauge. So I peel apart a set of jumper cables. You know how like the wire goes to the little claw thing in there? You just keep that and just cut it up and you got your eyelet for the terminal. Budget. And another thing I'm gonna actually try to do right is a line lock. Cause in that thing I had a little ball valve and it always bled through and I ended up just turnbuckle off the mast anyways. So this line lock, they're meant for holding pressure to your front brakes to do a burnout. But I want to be able to use brake control with my front brakes during a burnout, so I want to lock out my rear brakes. So the input becomes the output when you do that. You just plumb it in backwards because the way these are designed, so say you push pressure out to your front brakes and then switch it, it holds pressure on one side better than the other. So I want my rear feeding in and then out to the rear so that when I am not touching the brakes and I lock it, this is the side that holds pressure. Coming from the master cylinder this time, instead of locking in pressure, it's going to lock out pressure. Make sense? Kinda. I mean, these don't really have the duty cycle to run for more than 60 seconds and hold pressure, but I mean, we're going for like 90 seconds typically, so I hope it can hang. We're gonna find out. A lot of this stuff I need to do, like get my line lock, I got a new fuel pump, I got to do the exhaust crossover and the trans cross member and get the drive shaft in. I got like 47 things ready to do, but now I got to lay in the mess to do it all. So my exhaust crossover should be pretty simple. I just cut the flange off of that. We're gonna put that on there. It's gonna go down off of that header. come back up under the transmission, up into this manifold. But I need to fit a wastegate somewhere too. Ideally, it would be after both headers and right before the turbo. But I'm gonna have my oil drain, and like ideally it would come out like right here. And I could put it on the turbo housing, but then it'll be like hood exit. I know like the cheap eBay Silverado kits put it in the crossover. So then it's really only bleeding off this side of flow. The log will still be feeding the turbo. I don't know if that's sufficient for what we're doing, but it might be the way to go. Either way, I gotta connect the two sides and then either putting a wastegate on there or fitting it in somewhere over there. Whew. Alright. I hate this thing. It keeps messing up. And like, it won't feed. And then it'll burn the wire all the way to the tip. And then it'll feed. And then you let go of the button and it keeps feeding. And like, I tried cleaning the tip and all kinds of... Anyways. The crossover is done. It's not pretty. Don't look too close. We're gonna put the wastegate right there. If it doesn't work, we'll have to do something else. But comes like that on the stupid eBay kits. Just don't know if wide open throttle under boost for 2 minutes straight, if that's gonna cut it. I mean, I can always put it on like the back housing of the turbo or try and fit it here somewhere. Either way. Now we gotta start this thing up, blow all the junk out of that, and then mount the wastegate and the turbo and all of that stuff. Hook the battery up. I got an oil pressure gauge hooked up. I got the oil feed for the turbo. Not gonna leak everywhere. And I put oil back in the motor. All right. Now just 400 more things to do. Now I'm just playing around with turbo clocking, because I could have it come right down into the tube, but that's where the radiator is. Or even if I use that radiator. So I think I'm gonna punch it through right there and run it through here, tight to the inside of the inner fender, which will be somewhere in this area, because intercooler. Yeah. So I'm just kind of marking out a hole, pop a hole. I gotta figure out clocking on this so I can tighten it, do my oil fittings and mount it, and then move on to other things. I'm just gonna guess something like that. Sure. Oil fittings on, fill and drain before I mount it. I have to pull it off a bunch of times. I gotta figure out a downpipe. I'm probably just gonna try and use some of that. It's got the flange on it and a bend. I'm hoping I can just bend right out there somewhere and come out right here and try and follow that at least down some for now, because I'm keeping the heater core, so I'm not even in like hood stack territory. I hate header wrap. I'm just gonna guess. I need to fit this O2 sensor somewhere. That log manifold has a bung before the turbo. I obviously had this one after the turbo. That'll get me the swoop and the swoop that I want. Oh, that's gonna bury me right into the cab. I need just the down part. You know, a smart guy would have unwrapped this. Now you can see all my old booger welds. It's fine. Hole. Should work. I mean, I just eyeball and guess everything. There's probably better ways to do this, but I don't care. Okay. Yeah. Let's see what we got here. Yeah. Easy. I'm gonna figure out what radiator I'm gonna use and where I can fit an intercooler. So the C10 radiator fits, but the F-body one I got, it's much thicker. And it has the electric fans on it, because this one before just had a mechanical fan. So if I can fit that Camaro one in here, we'll probably try and use that. It is shorter. It might just fit. Gotta get rid of this bracket and whatever. But I think it'll fit. But how we're gonna mount it is gonna be a different story. Oh, she fits like a glove. Ooh. Oops. Ooh. It just kind of stays on its own. These little tabs just wedge against the supports. And it holds it perfect. Got it. It's only a little messed up. Oh, this part might get ugly. Nope. Nope, nope. Do I want to notch out the whole grill? Not really. Do I want to buy a different intercooler? Not really. Do I need to run the grill? Kind of. It holds the headlights. We're just gonna... And we just put a Chevy bow tie right there. You know? It wasn't so crooked. That's right where, like, it'll be perfect for a 90 and a 90. If it was 3-inch instead of 4, it would probably work. Alright, so I think we can get this back further. At least to here, because that's where the radiator is going to mount to. Let's try it. It's really, I didn't even have to cut that part. Like, it's perfect. It just wedged in there so tight, I'm not even gonna mount it. That's it.
The next day.
Alright. No, it's loud. It's early. Got the heat cranking up. I went a little crazy last night. And drilled all the holes for my intercooler. Ran all the pipes. Plumbed it in. Still need to mount the radiator. Do some radiator hoses. Catch can. Overflow tank. And I think that's about it under the hood. Cruising right along here. Got the catch can mounted. you know, a couple self-tappers. And a bunch of these intercooler pipes I had to cut. And you really want like a bead rolled edge. That's the factory side. And that's my side. Just go to Harbor Freight and get these electrician pliers, whatever, with the little crimper. Some people say you gotta cut the tip off and blah, blah, blah. And just, I just use it just like that. It's good. So I just threw the drive shaft in. And it's too short. I don't know if you can see that. I got about 2 inches of engagement on the yoke. I bought the long yoke. Same as I had on the 4L60. 8-inch yoke. At almost 4 inches here. That one I got like 2 inches. When I had both setups out on the ground, before I put it in here, I measured, and I knew the TKO was shorter, but I only measured it out at like a 1/2 inch shorter, not 2. So I don't want to get a drive shaft made. So that's a wrap for tonight. Damn drive shaft. Otherwise, we're cruising right along. I got the catch can mounted and my horn hooked back up, and I just been slinging parts back on this thing. I haven't been filming a ton because I just been blasting music out here and just working, and copyright laws. I'm in the zone. Oh, dang drive shaft. Well, I'll pick it up tomorrow. Alright, so yet another day. I was trying to solve my great drive shaft debacle. I don't want to spend $400 or $500 on a new one, and I got one over there that I could get shortened. And then I found one the right length on Marketplace for like $75. But it's for a Mopar, and they have goofy U-joints, and I was trying to mess with like conversion joints. But I don't like it. It's got like 10, 20 thou wiggle back and forth, like the caps aren't tight, and you know, that vibration bothered me enough not to use it, but then I just went ahead and did this instead. I know it's dark, my light sucks. Switch this up, because that sucks. So this is a 8-inch yoke to the center of the U-joint. So that portion is 6 inches long. So I've got about 3 inches in there. So I think that's enough, but I could only achieve that by putting this big spacer on the pinion. I mean, they sell it. It can't be too bad, right? I mean, granted, they're offered for like off-road applications. Not high speed, but we're gonna try it. It was like $48. So if it vibrates to hell, we'll have to figure something else out. So here's a good look at my crossover pipe, and there's my wastegate, and just don't look at that. And it's fine. I might need a downpipe on that, maybe not. But so now I'm at the point of drive shaft installed. I can start adding fluid to the trans, and I rerouted my heater hoses around this, away from the hot stuff, and hoses are on so I can add water. And yeah, kind of just buttoning everything up. I gotta push this junk outside. The only thing I still need to rob off of that is I'm gonna pull the battery out. It's a good battery. And I need the boost gauge and the wideband. So I've been out here way too long. Took a crappy old license plate. I got my boost gauge and my AFR gauge and my cell phone mount and all that hooked up. Dude, this lens is fucked, is it? Has it been messed up the whole time? I haven't looked back at any of this. I'm sorry. Not fixing it now. Still gotta calibrate the O2 sensor again. But I think that's about it. Let's check the list. All right. We did fluids. I did the boost gauge, the AFR gauge. Still need to put in the line lock and the wheel tubs and the fuel pump. But that fuel pump is identical to the Evil Energy one that's under there, which is rated 300 liters per hour. This one's rated 380 liters per hour. So is it actually an upgrade? Or is one of them just upselling or downselling and they're literally the same thing? I don't know. But I don't really feel like getting covered in fuel to swap it out. So we'll probably drive it and see if it goes lean. But that's it for tonight. It's late. I'm tired. It's only been 8 days? Yeah, like 8 or 9 days of afternoons since I pulled both of these in. We're cranking. It's almost done. Well, it's snowing outside. I don't know if the clutch works, but I gotta pull this out because it's the weekend and I gotta fix one of my work trucks by Monday. So I got it out and got the other thing back in that I got to start working on, and then clearly I don't plow or shovel. But the truck's out of the garage and the clutch works. So if I can make it out of the driveway, we're gonna go do something. It's good because I need to go get parts for my other stuff. lift in the second. Just goes sideways when it hits boost. Probably not the best idea to test drive on a cold winter day. They're kind of on the side of the road like this. Just breaks loose instantly. Temp's good. My electric versus mechanical don't match. So this says 177, that's at about 155. Yeah, I need some work on the tune. But it's fine. Alright, so it ran and drove. I got 0 traction, but drove it around enough to make sure it doesn't overheat. Didn't do anything weird. Didn't really drive fast enough to check for drive shaft vibrations. If we got to change anything there, but now I got to clean some of this crap up, and I gotta notch these bed sides because a 275 just fits. And I had to yank this all out, and it rubs the inside. And I'm on an adapter because it's a Ranger rear end, but I can get a shorter adapter to get it off this lip if I tub out the inside here. And so rather than getting a bunch of flat metal and trying to fabricate all kinds of stuff, you just get on Marketplace and get an old oil tank. I mean, people usually give these things away. But it's got nice radius and it's already capped, and for this truck I'm only gonna need like 3-4 inches, but then I got enough for that one too. Alright, I got it inside. I wanted to cut it outside because it's 5 feet tall, but it's 11 degrees out right now, so we're not doing that.
Thank you.
not a very straight cut. But that's fine. And so now the question is, do I just cut it that way and have a super long tub? Cut it that way. It's only 27 inches, but I'm also a couple inches above the center line of the wheel, so it's really only the top third of the tire will probably fit. So there's a 275 tire. If I try and just use like the top half. So I left myself a little flap here, and I'm gonna try and bend out as like a tab, and see how they fit. Just like that, little mini wheel tub. Covered in grease. Ain't pretty, but so my original plan was to just cut this out, move it out, and then add metal. So this was just supposed to save me a step. Alright, where was I? Wheel tubs in. I sealed them in there. You know, just some dime welds. Yeah, ignore that. So those are sealed up. And I went ahead and made it a street car. And I put a muffler on it. So it's clamped, 3-inch elbow, up to 3.5. I had this 3.5-inch muffler on the shelf in a box for like 3 years. Little hanger, and then this is the tip from the other C10, the Silverado chassis. It's like a little mini boom tube, because you know, NASCAR. Guess we can take it for a ride, see if the sound is manageable, and do another little quick test drive. But I really need to get some real testing done, but that's not going to happen in this video. weight in the back of this thing compared to the stock car. I might have to do like a big steel bumper. First of all, for hitting the wall, doing burnouts. 2, I need some weight in the back. Get some gas, because I'm pretty sure it has 87 in it. And spinning one tire. That's why I get no I don't know. I got no one outside to look and see. Oh, she's getting sideways. Not even in the boost yet. Doesn't get hot. It's got great oil pressure. Got some things to figure out. I mean, if this thing's really breaking loose that easy, I don't know what it's making for power, but I'm not even getting into boost, and it's just spinning. So, probably gonna put the radials on the back, see if it hooks. I mean, I can peek at see if the clutch is all hot. I don't know. Either way, we got the turbo 6-liter in this truck. Runs, drives, stops. Everything's working-ish so far. So, that's it for this episode of Gifted Garage, where Gif did just that. 6-liter turbo in the 65 C10. We gotta go put this thing through some real testing, so stick around for that. See ya.